Welcome to Sisters in Arms. I'm Carrie Ann Alclair. This is where we empower minds through education, advocacy, and true stories. So let's get started. Today we got Nichole back.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me back.
But before we dive into this amazing conversation that we're going to have, I have a video, and we're going to play that first, and then we'll get into it.
New tonight, we're hearing from the woman who was body slammed onto the pavement today at a busy Attleboro intersection. We should warn you, some of this video you're about to see is disturbing. Police gave us eyewitness footage of the incident showing the man grabbing Haley Soares and throwing her head first to the ground just before 9 this morning. Police say witnesses told them that man yanked her out of her car after she rear-ended him. Soares was taken to Sturdy Memorial Hospital with a, quote, very serious skull injury, broken knee, broken foot, and injury to her eye socket. The mother of two says she's thankful to be home from the hospital tonight with her family.
And I just started crying, and I was like, I can't feel my knees. I can't feel my knees. I needed her to go get my kids, so she had to go pick up my children, and that's all I could think was, I'm probably never going to be able to walk again. I don't know if he was having a bad day. I don't know what that was, but if that's the type of person he is, then I don't think he belongs in society with the rest of us.
26-year-old Gladier Quisia of Pawtucket was arrested and charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, that being the pavement itself. He's also charged with destruction of property and driving without a license. Bail was set at $2,500, and the suspect was ordered not to have any contact with the alleged victim.
That just gives me absolute chills. You know, and before I go into the story a little bit more, I just want to explain a couple things too, because there were some rumors going around that was yelling and screaming at the girl that was recording the video, and I just wanted to clarify that the woman that was recording the video was a nanny and had her children, not her children, but the nanny's
under
children, under her care. So she couldn't get out. She shouldn't get out.
No.
But what she did do was she helped that woman by recording it.
Yes.
So we don't really know the full details, and this happened a couple months ago in Attleboro, Massachusetts. So I thought that this story, I wrote an article on it, in fact. I thought this story would be a great opportunity to talk about what happens if.
Sure.
What should I have done if?
Right.
Because whether, we're not going to talk about whose fault it was, because that's really not the point of this conversation. Because we all been there where we've gotten in an accident or maybe a fender bender or something like that happens, and then you think back, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
But now that you and I have been trained in so many different aspects,
right,
we know that we wouldn't have done that. We would have stayed in the car. So
right,
let's talk about, first off, if something like that did happen to you, it was a little fender bender, you know, your car's still running, would you get out of the car?
No.
No.
Oh, well, that's hard to say no. Now, if,
every situation's different.
Yeah, because when you say no, in that situation, no, of course not.
Right.
But every single detail makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So if it was I rear-ended you and you got out and you're like, oh man, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and we'd exchange insurance and be about our day.
Right.
So it's situation. Each situation's different.
Right.
Now, if a man comes out and he's banging on my hood and I'm scared,
which apparently this gentleman was doing.
Right,
allegedly.
Accordingly. Yeah, allegedly, sorry. But if that was the case and my vehicle's up and running, I'm out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm out of there. I'm not leaving my vehicle. Of course, we can't say we shoulda, woulda, couldas. Well, we can because we have a different mindset. Mm-hmm. But at the time, you know, she was in a position that your adrenaline's rushing, your mind goes blank, you get tunnel vision.
And you're mad.
You're
and
mad.
That's road rage. At
Right.
that point, whether it's her, whether it's him, whether or not, whether all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I just hit him. I heard there was a lot of different things. There was rumors that he slammed on his brakes. There was rumors he didn't. There was rumors that it doesn't matter. Because the bottom line is there's a teachable moment here that we can talk about.
Right.
You know, in a situation like that where she did, you know, accidentally hit his bumper.
Sure.
And now she sees him getting out of the car and she's mad. I would have kept that car door locked, the windows up, and I would have waited.
Call 911.
Call 911 right away, of course, and then wait. And then if it gets worse and my car is able to run,
Right.
then I'm out. I'm going
Right.
to call 911 and say, I just left the scene of an accident.
Right.
And this is the reasons why. Where would you like me to meet you? Because I don't know this area.
Right.
But again, every situation's so different.
Right, and we can always say, hey, this is what you should have done. That no, what we're talking about is getting educated so that if something does happen like this, you know what to do in that situation. Muscle memory, those things come into your head. When you don't have any of that situational awareness or that education on how to be situationally aware, then these things happen. And I feel so awful that this happened to her. She's lucky to be alive.
She is. In fact, I think there was another news clip where she actually was interviewed further, and she said when he slammed her to the ground, she couldn't feel her knees. She couldn't feel her knees. She thought she was going to die.
Yeah.
He's going to kill me.
And he could have.
So let's talk about, I say, you can kind of tell in the video, but you have to kind of look over again and again and
Right.
again. She comes out and she's obviously, it looks like she's recording the situation. So in my car, I have a dash cam that records the inside of the car, the outside of the car. You can actually hear this conversation. You can hear what's going on. I have it in all my cars.
Sure.
And that would be my lifesaver.
Right.
I would not be using my phone to video. I would be using my phone to call 911. However, every situation's different.
Right. Well, some people can't afford dash cams, stuff like that, in an older
they're
vehicle.
They're cheap nowadays, like
Are they?
$30.
Oh, then.
Yep, on Amazon. So they're affordable. I mean, you can get up there in price depending on like,
Sure,
oh,
of
it's
course.
Bluetooth, and you get it on your phone.
I don't know. My car came with one when I bought it, so I don't really think about it.
That's awesome.
Well, the thing is, talking about the phone, the thing that bothers me about the phone is everybody thinks that it is some security blanket. Your phone's not a security blanket. Your phone's not going to defend you unless you're hitting them in the face with it or something to defend yourself. So people think by videotaping somebody, oh no, that person's going to stop. No. If that person has intent to hurt or kill you, they're going to do it whether you're videotaping them or not.
Right.
Because after they do that, who's to say they're not going to take your phone and crush it?
Right.
So a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to get in my car and tape you, and you won't do anything to me. Well, obviously, and I really don't mean, I feel so bad that this happened to this young lady.
Oh yeah, we're not judging.
I'm not joking, I'm not judging, it's awful.
But it's also about education too.
It is.
And maybe she's a young girl, maybe she was never taught that kind of stuff. Maybe she was never taught that. That's why I think it's so important that we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Because maybe one person can hear this and be like, oh, I remember what they told me not to do.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like I tell my students, the more protection you have, the better you're going to feel, but don't let your guard down. The one biggest thing that I teach my students when it comes to firearms, whether it's carrying in the range or home, is the one place that people don't think about is at home. People do tend to have their guard up more out in the real world because it's like you never know what's coming around the corner. When it comes to home, people let their guard down. You kick off your shoes, you take off your bra, you put the little Netflix on, and you relax, right? That's your home. That's for your Zen place. And people let their guard down at home. And the one thing that drives me crazy is when people say, well, I live in a nice neighborhood. Well, guess what? I grew up in the city, and those kids that robbed other people, okay, they didn't go to their own neighborhood. No. They go to the neighborhoods where the nice stuff is and people leave their doors unlocked.
Yeah, in the middle of the woods.
In the middle of the woods, where they're not going to be heard. So, no matter where you live, put up your guard a little bit.
Right.
I'm not saying be paranoid. I'm just saying be situationally aware, whether it's outside or inside your home.
And that's why they have the Cooper color codes. And we talked about this on the show too. So there is an episode you can pull up, and we definitely talked about that. But you always want to be in yellow. You don't want to be in white. White is you're sleeping, you're totally unaware, you're not paying attention to your surroundings, you're looking at your phone, and everybody, I taught a pepper spray class a couple weeks ago, and a gentleman said, I don't mean to laugh and giggle, but you sound to me like you're paranoid. And I'm like, I am so glad you said that. Let's talk about this. I'm prepared. I want you to listen to that when I say it again. I'm prepared.
Not paranoid.
Now let's continue this class, and I promise you by the end of the class, you're gonna get it. And he did. And he said it was the best class he took.
That's great.
And so I think it's important to understand that situational awareness is probably the most important thing you should ever know or learn prior to even having any other tools that you use for self-defense.
Right.
Firearms, pepper spray, a knife.
Anything.
You know, hand-to-hand combat.
If you can avoid that situation, why wouldn't
Right,
you?
right.
But you need to put yourself in the position to avoid that situation. You know, when I close up the shop at night and I finish up a class, I move my car from the back parking lot and put it at the front door.
Right.
Because at the end of the night, I'm not working through a dark parking lot behind the dumpsters behind a pond to get to my car at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
Got to be situationally aware.
Exactly.
You know what scares me more than anything, and I see it all the time, I started a couple weeks ago. I was driving through Boston taking my son to Mass General, and there was the college kids walking everywhere. Earbuds in, heads down on their phone, not being aware of anything that's going on around them.
Right.
Okay? Not even just of people, but traffic and trolleys. And I'm like, what the heck? It's like they're on their own world and they're not even paying attention to what's going on around them.
There's been people actually have been killed.
Yeah.
Or, or humiliated.
Yeah.
I have a video of somebody
Falling
in the
in the-
mall.
I love that one. Falling into the fountain.
Falling right in the fountain.
Fountain.
Whoosh. And yeah, so when you're not paying attention, that fountain could be a bad guy.
Yeah.
So, and let's talk about tools. So I know that obviously you're a firearm instructor, and I'm sure you carry pepper spray.
Sure.
And
I'm
carry.
a huge believer in pepper spray. Ask any of my students. They're like, yes, she is. Well, because a firearm is not always, especially in the state of Massachusetts, you need to know the Massachusetts laws. And unfortunately in Massachusetts, you have the duty to retreat from a situation if you're not being the one threatened. So sometimes...
Not in your home, but out
right,
of
castle
your home.
doctrine. We do have castle doctrine, but when it comes to property you're not allowed to protect in Massachusetts. So a firearm is not always going to be the solution in a situation. Pepper spray will do the trick. If somebody wants to come in and take some property of yours, and you can use pepper spray. It's a non-lethal substance that will deter them from coming back into your home or going further into another deeper situation.
And if I can use pepper spray rather than a firearm,
firearm?
I would absolutely rather do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to deal with the legal ramifications of
No,
everything.
or just not even the legal.
The mental,
The mental and
emotional,
physical,
right.
and all emotional.
Yeah,
And then have to look
exactly.
at somebody's family in the eye, even know that they did something wrong. It's
So
a tough situation.
So you got stun guns, you got personal alarms, firearms, the importance of proper training. But I have to tell you a story about the personal alarms.
Oh boy.
So a couple years ago, I went to DC, and I was in a boot. I had a cane. I was really, really hurt, and I went. I didn't know if I could go, but I did. Hobbling around. On the back of my cane, I had a little hook, and I had a whistle.
Yep, I
and
know the whistles
personal
are
alarm.
so loud.
So I got into an Uber, and I put my cane down, and Renee sat on it, and I went to go pull it.
no.
But you know what? No one even looked.
Isn't that
No one
crazy?
even looked. I did it again in the airport. I went off going through the machine, and I'm like, I got yelled at, don't touch it. I'm like, all right, fine, just go ahead and do what you think,
Well,
but nobody even looked. I was like, it cracked me up. So just know that.
but that's sad and scary at the same
think
time.
about
because
it.
if you think
Car
about
alarms go off, right?
Let's go back to the original video. How did you open up that video? She had, the woman taking the video was a nanny, and yes, she would have created a worse situation. So I'm glad she didn't get herself involved.
Right.
But there's a lot of other people driving by, and nobody even took a second glance.
There was actually, so
Was there another person
yeah,
that
so
joined
it's
it?
kind
Okay.
of funny because before this even went on the news, it was on Facebook, and I'm part of the Attleboro, No Attleboro
yep, you
group.
told me, yep.
And so I'm like, oh, so she posted it.
Okay.
So the woman posted it on this Facebook page. I saw the whole thing, like the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, and then I started going underneath the comments, and I'm like, I said, why is nobody helping? But what you saw was just a small clip or small piece of the video. What you didn't see is once she was done recording, there was a bunch of people that stopped, including some men
Oh, good.
that did stop.
Oh, good, okay.
So
I didn't get
I'm
to
glad
see
you
that
said
part,
that
yeah.
because there was people that stopped. But they call it, there's a phenomena, I forgot what it's called now, where people just sit there and record. They don't do
Yeah.
nothing until the person that decides to take control of the situation, then they start to do something.
Yeah, but be that one person.
I don't know what it's called, but it's crazy.
But be that person, though.
And let's go back to that, because what would you do if you saw that And someone asked me, because I made a comment underneath the Facebook page, and I got yelled at by a woman and said, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" And I'm not going to sit there and put a comment on Facebook saying I'm a firearm instructor.
No.
That's not what my whole point was. I would have gotten out of the car, and who knows what I would have done at this situation. Would I have beeped the horn? Would I have called 911? Would I have been screaming at the guy
I
from
definitely
my
would call
car?
911, 100%.
You know? Would I?
Well, you know what's unfortunate,
Who knows?
though?
Would I have taken out my pepper spray? I don't know.
But in this state,
don't know.
you have to be careful of what you do, because just a few minutes ago, legal ramifications in Massachusetts. That situation wasn't involved with me. So if I was to do something to stop him, and it resulted in him in great bodily harm or death, I'm going to prison for defending that woman.
Well, I think there is, and I forgot what it's called, but there is a law that allows you to protect others.
Only
But that's
loved ones, cared ones. So
and that's where it gets a little complicated. Is
Right.
understanding the law and understanding, can I or can I not? And I don't think it's just family members. I will find that out. I will find
it's
that one
important.
statute out and definitely put it into the YouTube description. But
the feeling, the fact is we shouldn't have to have the feeling that we can't help somebody without us getting in trouble. That is a big part of why our morals have gone down in this world, is we don't feel like we can help anybody without getting
Well, we're
ourselves in
afraid
trouble.
to.
We're afraid to
I mean,
help.
think about that guy in New York in the subway.
Yeah.
He was a military guy, and some guy just went crazy and started. I don't know what he did, but he did something. There was kids there, and he held him down.
Yeah.
And
He stopped the threat.
He stopped the threat. Unfortunately, the person, the bad guy, he passed away. But the guy got in trouble. But he's out now. He won. He did
But
win.
he had to leave work and miss his family and all the public media and having
Money.
people scrutinize him. The money. Oh my gosh. So it's like, what do you do? And then you wonder why these criminals continue to do what they do. They're emboldened.
And let's talk about that too. All right, so the justice system, in my opinion, is completely
Disgraceful.
upside down. I mean, we had, how many times has a criminal been arrested and then let back out on the street again? I don't know.
Every day.
17.
Every
look
day.
At look at what happened to Gannon
Yeah.
from Cape Cod.
Yep.
How many times was that guy arrested and put back?
Multiple.
Yep. We don't even say his name because he doesn't deserve his name even
No,
been
recognized,
said.
yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, we can go on, but there's so many things to talk about what happened in that video. And honestly, we're not judging anybody. It's just we're letting people know that being aware of your situation, being aware of your surroundings. Can you always avoid an accident? No.
No.
Sometimes it happens.
It's an accident.
But knowing what to do
Right.
in an event that it did happen and having the tools to protect yourself in case you have to. What if her car wasn't able to, she wasn't able to drive away,
Right.
and he had a bat and he was banging on the window.
Right. Scenarios change.
Scenarios change. What if you had children in the car and you couldn't leave the car because maybe you could have jumped out of the back seat and left. Now
Yeah.
you have a child in the car.
You can't do that.
Right. So all these situations change, and then if you decide, okay, what tool do I need to use? Are you comfortable with using that? So that's
The hard part is like people don't really take that into perspective until it's too late.
right.
And that's
So-
why we're hoping to educate more people to, find the tool that works for you. Any tool is better than no tool at all at that point. So even if she had nothing in her car or myself or anything like that, what could I find to defend myself?
Right.
So that's why I tell people it's good to have a pepper spray in your vehicle. It's good to pepper spray. I tell people to have a pepper spray in every single room of your house. Okay?
Yep.
Where are you most vulnerable in your home besides sleeping? Using the bathroom. If you have one and somebody's at your door, let me tell you, that criminal is going to be cool as a cucumber. He was cool as a cucumber. He was angry, but he wasn't probably shaking her nerves like adrenaline rushing, fingers,
And pepper spray is good, but again, you also have to realize too that certain things, there's an expiration date on it.
Yes.
You can't leave it in your car because it will destroy the heat, the
Yes.
cold will destroy
corrodes,
it.
yeah.
It doesn't belong in the bottom of your purse.
And do a bright colored one when you have one in your purse, please. A bright colored, because if you're not going to find it in the dark, you're not going to find a black pepper spray in the dark.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't belong in your purse. It belongs in your hand, in your pocket.
Or on the little key ring that I tell people get those ones that have the
The clips.
clips that have the pull string though. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the keychain pull strings.
Yep.
Like you use to open locked doors. Like, so that way if it's on your purse, you can still pull it straight out and have it come back. You know what I mean? Just things like that. You need to be educated on how to use those tools, though, because
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is spray yourself. I've
Right.
been pepper sprayed. I'm not a big fan of it.
Oh, that's right, because you're a police officer, so you
awful.
had, ooh.
Let me tell you what, honestly, I'd rather be tased than sprayed. I did not like being pepper sprayed. I'm not going to lie. It was
Lord.
brutal.
No, I haven't been pepper sprayed.
I never want to
Thank
do that
God.
again, thank you. But I tell people, too, what happens in the aftermath. When it comes to pepper spray, I tell people, have some kind of baby shampoo on standby to be able to wash it out with baby shampoo, cool water. You wear glasses, so you're going to get less residual than somebody like myself. So
You're still going to get it,
You're
though.
still gonna get it.
That was a question that someone had. It's like, if they have glasses, where they, oh, no, trust
You're
me,
gonna
they're
get it.
still going to get it.
Well, I tell people, especially at home, to have the pepper gel, because pepper gel is a thicker consistency, so you're going to have less mist in your home as you would with the gel, and the gel sticks to the skin just a
Yep,
little
and
bit
depending on
differently.
where you are. I mean,
Yeah.
there's big cans that you can have in the
Yeah.
home that shoots further distance, too.
Well, I'm actually glad you said the different kinds. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, well, I use bug spray. Please do not use bug spray.
Bug spray, you can get in
That's-
big trouble.
You could kill somebody and they're
Yep,
going to go
and
jail
you
for
could
murder.
get sued.
It
You
would be
will.
different if somebody dies from allergic reaction from pepper spray, because it is considered non-lethal, and that is, might not happen, but
Yep,
bug
OC.
spray is meant to kill somebody.
Oh, God, I never can say it. Can you say it? So OC stands for oleum.
You could try it. Nope.
I can't say it.
I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah, no, I can never say it. But it's OC. So if you look on the back of the pepper spray and you see OC, and you'll see exactly what it stands for, that's the real pepper spray.
Right.
There's some knockoffs that are just
Not as good.
not as good. Not as good. So I just think there's such an important lesson to learn about this. I mean, we could talk for like literally,
Oh my gosh.
probably another hour about it.
Sure.
But there are courses, specific courses that you can take if you are not, like, for example, you don't have your firearm, or maybe you have a disqualifier. There are specific classes that you can take. I teach the NRA, Refuse to be a Victim. I teach the pepper spray class, so it's Sabra pepper spray.
Sure.
The civilian class that I teach. And there's so many other classes that you can teach, even not firearm related, like how to come up with a personal protection plan in the home and out of the home.
Yes.
And taking classes like hand-to-hand combat classes.
Right.
You know, there's so many, and it doesn't matter how old you are. And I think that
No.
I had a couple ladies in my pepper spray class said, "Well, I'm too old. I can't do karate."
Ugh, yeah.
But there are specific classes that, and you probably know, being a police officer, that is specifically designed to show you how to get out of a hold.
Right.
What to do if somebody's in your face. How do you push them? What do you do to get in and out of that situation?
Right.
So.
Sorry, I was coughing, so it kind of got stuck in my throat there.
It's okay.
It's okay. sorry. 'Tis the season, you know.
Yep, exactly.
The thing is, though, is the more you do for yourself, the more you can defend yourself. I like what you said the last time we met. You're not a victim, you're a survivor. Okay? That is just such a perfect way to put it. Don't be a victim, be your survivor. Don't allow somebody to make you that victim. You know, I hope nothing happens to anybody. I do.
Right.
But that's not the reality of the world that we live, unfortunately.
Right.
So you need to take it upon yourself to be able to defend yourself. So the more education that you can get, the more classes that you can take, you know, even just going to the gym or working out at home or going for a walk, staying healthy and physically fit, you know, like that poor girl in the video, that guy is a big guy.
Yeah.
So even if she knew jiu-jitsu and martial arts or had pepper spray, who's to say pepper spray would work for him? I'm sorry, so there's always somebody bigger, stronger. And fight, just fight until your last,
Right.
till you can't fight no more. I am 4'11", my husband is 6'3". People are like, oh my God, he's so scary. And he'll be like, she's scarier than I am. Facts. But the thing is, it's like, because he knows and people around me know that, yeah, I don't have any delusions that somebody couldn't just absolutely destroy me if they wanted to, but I'm going to fight to my last dying breath.
Right. And I think when you start training, especially when you have a firearm in your hip, it's almost like it's like a switch. You end up,
Yes.
your mindset changes. So I had a situation where I was pulling out of the gas station, and there's a very odd spot where this gas station is, and if you have a truck, it's hard to get around. And so he was swearing at me. I had my window down at first, and he's calling me all sorts of names, and I'm like, and he stopped because he couldn't get by, and we're like window to window. I rolled up the window, and of course I'm carrying my firearm. I looked at him and I'm like, huh?
You
I
have
just like,
to.
as soon as I felt myself wanting to fight back verbally,
It's
I
not worth it,
shut
yeah.
up because I didn't want to provoke him
To go further.
for me to be in a situation where now I'm forced to use a firearm, because that will be held against me too.
Well, a responsible gun owner should know how to de-escalate a situation. More education to get. How do you de-escalate? How do you talk to people? Because as soon as you become a hothead, you escalate. Why? Hey, I'm so sorry. Even if it's your fault, in a situation where somebody's screaming and yelling at you, avoid the situation, especially if you're carrying a firearm. Because
Right.
the thing is, though, was with that girl, like a million scenarios. What if she did have a firearm? And he
Doesn't
had,
mean that you could use it if
Right.
he was just banging on your car.
but now he got a hold of your throat. Now he has your firearm. Do you know what I mean? So it's
So
about
there's all different
there's
scenarios.
all different scenarios. So you need to, that's why we talked before many times about all the different kinds of courses you can take. But even when we spoke last time, becoming part of these organizations, listening to other women's stories, I have to find that for the best part of my education is listening to other people's stories, learning from their mistakes.
Or
like,
learning from what they did right.
right,
too,
100%,
yeah.
absolutely, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, now I know that, or,
Yeah.
oh, I won't do that. So whether it's, a good situation, bad situation, and different situation, by taking those little snippets of how they lived, it helps you to create.
Right.
So by having my women's group, a lot of the ladies will sit there and chat and talk, and it's amazing how much more they've grown in self-defense and wanting to do more and advocating.
Right.
And I mean, it makes me kind of proud because I had a part in that. It's all them, though.
And sometimes you don't know what your words will do to save somebody.
Right.
And so having this show like this and having conversations with Nichole and having conversations with so many other guests that we've had before in the past, we don't know if we change somebody's thought process or possibly save their lives. And maybe they don't know that what they heard from us saved their lives because they just listened. So I think it's important, again, to educate yourself. We do have 1 minute, so I thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. I thank you enough. I can't thank you enough
Thank
for
you.
being here.
You're very, very welcome.
But if you have any questions or you're concerned or on how to properly train with all these wonderful classes that we're talking about, definitely email us at sistersinarms2022@gmail.com. Educate yourself, be vigilant, be situationally aware of your surroundings, and stay safe. See you next time. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.